BlackRock is the largest retirement manager in the world. They're the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. They own a majority stake in a ton of companies worldwide, and they will soon own some of the most critical infrastructure for AI and data centers in the world. It's clear that Larry Fink and BlackRock want to take over the world. Will it be too late before everybody realizes what's going on? Or will you wake up and take custody of your Bitcoin? Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Dante Cook from Bitcoin Simply, where I help you understand macro and markets in a simple way. Subscribe if you already haven't. We drop fire content 6 days a week, and you don't want to miss it. Let's get into today's episode. On October 1st, 1999, almost 25 years ago exactly, BlackRock went public, and things have gone pretty well for them.
Happy anniversary. There was that prospectus of 1st of October, 1999, where BlackRock went public, so you're 25 years young.
Yeah, it's a really good day for us. It's our 25th anniversary. It's our day that we are closing GIP, and right around this time, we're going to have our 30th anniversary here in Germany. So it's a good day. I'm very pleased that our stock performance is up, close to 1,000% over that time, actually 20 times greater than the S&Ps.
In 1988, Larry Fink got a call from Blackstone, the LBO or leveraged buyout and M&A darlings of Wall Street. He was already quickly becoming known as the best market maker on Wall Street at just 35 years old. He helped create what we now know as mortgage-backed securities for First Boston, and he almost single-handedly built their mortgage securities unit, which changed lending and debt markets in the United States forever. But even Larry Fink couldn't escape the crash of 1987. In 1988, Larry Fink had racked up over $100 million in losses. And in that moment, when he was down, Steve Schwarzman and Blackstone recognized that they could get top talent for almost nothing. They offered Larry Fink a $5 million line of credit that he used to build BlackRock in exchange for 50% of the business. Larry Fink would get to keep the other 50% and use it to recruit and attract talent to his new firm. And he also had an opportunity to earn a 2.5% stake in Blackstone at large. Fink would use just $150,000 of that $5 million line of credit. By 1989, just a year after they launched, they were already managing $2.7 billion in assets. By 92, that number grew to $8.1 billion. By 1994, $23 billion. And just shortly after they went public in 99, their assets under management ballooned to almost $1 trillion. Larry Fink leveraged his reputation as the financial darling on Wall Street of doing crazy complex turnarounds and debt restructuring, all the way up until in 2020, where the Fed actually called Larry Fink to back the corporate bond market. This has allowed Larry Fink to now get opportunities to own some of the most critical AI and data center infrastructure in the world, along with Microsoft and NVIDIA.
Well, GIP is in the midst of closing a $25 billion infrastructure product. The old BlackRock, our infra team is going to be raising another $10 billion. And then we announced a partnership with Microsoft, NVIDIA, and MGX. We have aspirations of raising $30 billion of equity, and then beyond that, more debt associated when we build out these AI data centers. So to me, this is the dawning of infrastructure. When I look around the world today, I see the inadequacies of infrastructure in almost every country.
Don't worry, he keeps going.
We're very excited about our position. If you just think about the role of infrastructure debt, if you think about what we announced with MGX and Microsoft, raising $30 billion of equity, but we're going to raise $100 to $120 billion of debt associated with those data centers.
BlackRock is the largest pension manager in the world, managing pensions for almost 40 million Americans. And on top of that, they and a handful of firms own majority stakes in the most important and critical companies in the world. They control the boardroom and the agendas of all of these companies. Let me name a few: NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, AT&T, Bank of America, Pfizer, Google, Walmart, and that's just the beginning of the list. Ian Carroll explains why this is so dangerous in a recent podcast that he did with Robert Breedlove.
These debunks of the BlackRock kind of conspiracy theory don't talk about is that, yeah, they're managing our money and it's still our money. That's great. Technically, that is kind of our ownership that they're representing. And they don't technically own Procter & Gamble, but all of the shares that they're buying with our money all represent votes. And it's a super easy Google search that anyone can do right now. You can do it for index funds, mutual funds, and exchange traded funds. In an index fund, who manages the share voting rights? And the answer is not you. The manager of the fund is generally in charge of managing the share voting rights, and only in some funds, and only if you explicitly go through the filling out of special forms, submission of these special forms, can you request to manage your own voting rights. And then you're stuck with managing, like, you have one share of the SPY. Now you have to decide how to vote 1/500th of 1/503rd of a share of 503 different companies, like, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's like the job of managing all those voting rights is monumental if you're going to be diversified in that way. And so no one's doing it, and they're just doing it for us. And when they're managing all of our voting rights of all, $40 trillion of our retirement capital, plus all the other capital we're throwing into these ETFs just for fun. Basically, when you look at the share ownership sheets of all of the corporations in America and you see BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street at the top, almost all of that percentage of ownership, which is like 30% of the total market value almost, all of that is representing our money and what would be our voting power. But because they are managing the voting power, they have usurped our right to lead the direction of our capitalistic system.
Let me recap. BlackRock manages the retirement for 40 million Americans. They're about to own some of the most critical infrastructure in the world. They effectively control the boardrooms and the decisions in the stock market. And now with the launch of IBIT, they own the majority of Bitcoin in the world. Since the ETF launched, they now own and control 357,000 Bitcoin on behalf of their customers, they say. BlackRock has become so large that they are too big to fail and are the largest geopolitical threat and company in the world. They control the money and they control the world. But there's one thing they can't control: self-custody Bitcoin. You need to take full control of your Bitcoin and remove all counterparty risk. You need to run a node and broadcast your transactions. You need to upgrade your cybersecurity to protect your privacy and your critical data. Learning how to do all of these things by yourself from scratch is incredibly difficult. And mastering these skills is even harder. But the best way to do this is the Bitcoin way. They have a cybersecurity team and a bunch of specialists that will work with you in a one-on-one personalized manner. They'll give you the expert guidance and the hand-holding to walk with you every step along the way in your journey until you master these skills. You need to become fully sovereign, and that starts with scheduling a consultation with their team at thebitcoinway.com. Bitcoin is one of the only legitimate answers to the financial train wreck heading our way.
I do think that there are some of us who think, is this too good to be true? I mean, I really want to believe the vision and that Bitcoin is going to these crazy prices like Michael Saylor, his base case or his bull case, and the idea of borrowing against your Bitcoin and all that. But maybe it's my scarcity mindset from being an immigrant, my parents with the great financial crisis, and just seeing that the average person, I mean, something always slams in your face and you just have it harder and harder.
Well,
and
it is true, Natalie, and it's going to protect you. But here's the problem. Your society might be wrecked. I mean, you got to read the mandibles. So if the dollar fails, you're going to be really glad that you own things that can't be printed, silver, gold, Bitcoin. But, you're not going to really like the way the world looks in that scenario. It's not going to be a pretty scenario. But probably what will happen is, countries will break up and new countries will emerge, and there'll be countries that, that have, rule of law and protect assets and protect citizens' rights. And, productive citizens will move there. None of us can foresee how this is going to unfold.
Right.
And I would prefer for it to unfold in a very balanced way where, as James says, the U.S. government embraces Bitcoin, puts it on its balance sheet, backs the dollar. I mean, that's all great and wonderful. Problem is, look at the jokers we've got in Washington, D.C. right now. What are the odds of that happening? I mean, it's going to take some really enlightened leadership. I mean,
and
look
a
like
long
Kennedy.
time. It's
Yeah,
not going
it's
to
gonna
happen
take some
overnight.
time. Kennedy would do it, right? But most of the others wouldn't.
Why would somebody, like Pelosi do it when she could make $250 million on a senator's salary? I mean, come on.
There's really only two ways out of the situation that we find ourselves in. The United States government and other governments around the world willfully elect to read the Bitcoin standard, understand that all fiat systems collapse and unleash chaos every several hundred years around the globe. Or it ends up happening like what's happening in Iran and Israel right now with war. We need a reset. We need a debt jubilee. We need to move on to a new system, and I would rather that happen peacefully. These are the sort of things that Larry and I are going to be talking about on October 7th at 3 p.m. We're going to be talking about gold, Bitcoin, and how to position your portfolio for the liquidity tsunami that's on its way and the financial train wreck that could be coming for all of the people that are unprepared. We'll be hosting the conversation live for Columbus members and doing an exclusive conversation between Larry and I for Navigator members only. Sign up. The link is in the show notes. And with that, I hope that you take some time this weekend to learn about self-custody, to see what's happening right before your eyes. Is BlackRock going to become so big, so important, and control all of the most important resources in the world before you wake up? I hope not. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.